Greetings YouTube, this is Toy Customizer, Wakeangel2K1, bringing you my latest toy acquisition, the Transformers Revenge of the Fallen Stratosphere. Now Stratosphere is a Voyager scale toy, and I looked it up online, but apparently this plane specifically is sort of a composite of like 5 different cargo carrying planes used by the military. So I can't really tell you exactly which plane it's supposed to be. Let's see, there's some details here. CGRD S37, I mean 677. I'm not sure if that means anything. Let's see if I can zoom in. Yeah, CGRD677. Not sure. Sometimes they have leet speak, but I'm not sure. That's Sigurd. If that means anything, let me know in the comments. Alright, the thing is, when the toy was in test phases, it was supposed to have like a little mini space shuttle on the top, where you could have called it like a shuttle, an unmanned drone, but basically it was supposed to sit right where this empty peg hole is, and it was supposed to become Stratosphere's robot mode gun. Unfortunately, they decided at the last minute to scrap it, so they left us this teasing little hole in the top of the plane with nothing to fill it. Okay. Stratosphere actually has an action feature that is triggered when you pull down on the tail fin like this, and that the cargo hold opens and a tiny micro machine sized Optimus Prime drives out. Yeah, look at how tiny that is. This is probably the smallest transformable depiction of the character ever. He is literally, this is the size of a Micro Machine toy. He is smaller than he's smaller than a Minicon, smaller than a Micromaster. But I'll get in more on him a little bit later. For now, let's stick him back up into the cargo hold. Okay, do a little bit more details. You have a nice little Autobot shield on the tail fin. You have Autobot shields on either wing. He has lots and lots of windows in the cockpit, lots of vents, lots of landing gear, and he has fold-away landing gear and 2 panels that come down to cover the side landing gear. So, a lot of nice little details here. Only problem is that there are some very obvious panel lines. It feels kind of like a whole bunch of robot is squished up into this thing. But we'll get to that just a little bit later. It's a really nice airplane mode. I mean, I don't have any other Transformers airplanes that look anything like this. Although I gotta say, him being a Voyager is probably his only weakness, because this kind of plane, you saw how tiny Optimus Prime was, so this kind of plane is supposed to be huge, and if you were going to put him on a display shelf with anything other than that Optimus Prime, he would be laughably out of scale, more so than the motorcycle Transformers are when you put them next to cars. But let's get on that later. Let's transform him into robot mode for now. Actually, before moving on to Stratosphere, let's take a quick moment to look at Tiny Prime here. Like I said, his car mode, compared to the tip of my finger, is about 2 knuckles long. And it actually has wheels and can roll very well. And that's about all I can say about it. It is an incredibly tiny truck. And this is probably the smallest Transformer that actually does, transforming. So his transformation is actually very simple. There's only a few hinges in place. And Potbelly Prime is formed. Yeah. I would have given up Potbelly Prime if I could have gotten. Look at that beer gut. He looks ridiculous. This is like 50-year-old retired Prime sitting on the couch watching the game. What was the I don't even Anyway, ignoring the Potbelly, the only really free articulation is that his arms have about this much range of movement. This is really just here to remind you of scale. When I bring out Stratosphere in robot mode, you're going to see just how they're supposed to put this guy next to him to let everyone in the universe know, yeah, this is a big dude. So, how small is Tiny Prime? Well, here is Pinpoint, the Leadfoot's Minicon. He's just about a head taller. And here's a Creon of Optimus Prime, who is almost shoulder high to this thing. So, it may not technically be the smallest depiction of Optimus Prime, but it is the smallest transforming depiction of Optimus Prime that I'm aware of. So yeah, that concludes this part of the talking about tiny things. Let's get back to talking about a much bigger robot. Alright, I'll give him this. He may only be Voyager scale, but Stratosphere is still a pretty big robot. Let's put him next to Optimus Prime, who is also a Voyager. Well, my Optimus Prime is also a Voyager. And you can see that he's actually still a little bit taller. He could be maybe even taller if you brought his wing kibble up higher. But no, that actually looks kind of cool. It's like he has 4 giant cannons sticking out of his back. Hey, there you go. That's not kibble, that's his primary weapon system. It kind of has to be because he has no gun. Again, missing the space shuttle. Alright, but let's get Optimus Prime out of there. He was only making a cameo for size appearance. This is Optimus as he is supposed to be in scale next to this guy. Okay, let me get a ruler and demonstrate for you just how big Stratosphere is actually supposed to be. Little mini Optimus is just over 2 inches tall. Now I looked it up online, and movie Optimus is said to be about 30 or so feet tall. Estimates go anywhere from 28 to 32, so let's split the difference and say 30. The Stratosphere toy, from the soles of his feet up to the top of his head, is about 8 inches. So 30, 60, 90... That's close to 110 feet. So yeah, Stratosphere is somewhere between 100 and 110 feet tall, and that's stopping at his head. Doesn't go up to the top of his wing kibble, and that's when his legs are bent like this. Actually, that's a lot of the aesthetic that I don't like about him. That's his biggest flaw. Forget the enormous backpack kibble. It is these legs. I don't like that chicken walk look. But if straightened out, you could probably get another solid inch off of him, which would make him close to 120 feet tall. Except that with his legs this way, even those gigantic pontoon feet are unable to compensate for his backpack. You know, in reference to his transformation, he is a solid reminder as to why I never really liked the movie line very much. He is extremely panel-centric. These legs, although the joints in them are really tight and nice, they're also incredibly spindly. and they kind of don't make him look very balanced. And well, most of his vehicle mode is just kind of strapped to his back. In fact, if it wasn't for a single peg that holds together the torso to the hips, which takes away a waist joint, the cargo door gimmick still works. Meaning that if it wasn't for a peg back there that made the internal space too small, then this guy could literally poop out Optimus Prime. In fact, let me turn Potbelly Prime here back to vehicle mode. See if I can give you a rather visceral demonstration of that fact. Let's see. He still goes in. See, Optimus just doesn't quite go in far enough. It looks almost like he can, but he really can't. But yeah, this guy could poop Optimus Prime. Alright, so Stratosphere, like my 2007 movie RC, is a character who only appeared in the expanded fiction and concept art for the Revenge of the Fallen movie. Just like how 2007 movie RC only existed as concept art and never actually made it to the film, this guy was also scrapped. Now, why would they scrap a 110-foot tall death machine like this? I mean, the only other character I can think of that's like this in Transformers fiction, you know, a single Transformer who's the size of an apartment building, is Omega Supreme. This guy is basically the movie's version of Omega Supreme. And yet he was scrapped. I think that he was supposed to fight Devastator, but they scrapped him from the movie so that they could have Skids and Mudflap do it. Yeah, this enormous guy, who was actually quite awesome in many ways, was taken out of the movie so that Skids and Mudflap could get the honor of taking out Devastator. Can you imagine what could have been?
Oh no! Devastator is attacking the pyramids! Rah! What shall we do? Should we entrust his destruction to a couple of retards and comic relief characters? No way! This one's mine! What? The transport plane was a Transformer this whole time? Indeed. And I was saving my power for just this situation. Rah! Ha! Rah! Ha! Epic battle and explosions!
Let's stop ranting about what could have been and start ranting about the figure himself. How is he? He has a swivel head. He can look about that far behind himself, but all he'd be looking at is his own jets. It has light piping, but the lights sort of go in the top of the head and come out the front windows instead of the eyes. He has a kind of a nice Lugnut style chest reveal. Is that when you rotate the arms into place, they cause the chest to automatically pop open, and there's actually a lot of nice detail in there. And I think that's pretty cool. He has wonderful arms. He has good universal shoulder, a bicep swivel, a double jointed elbow, and he doesn't have a wrist swivel, but he does have wrist movement, and he moves his fingers and thumb. So this guy, he can do tons of stuff. He can even hold Mini Optimus. I'm eating my Optimus-shaped sandwich. Won't you let me enjoy it? I knocked that out of my hand, but he would have held it securely. The hips. The hips are kind of narrow. I wish that there was some way that they could have flared out, because you have to splay the legs a bit in order to make it look like he's not a mono leg like G1. You know how G1 mono legs worked. But the thing is, he has no ankle rockers. I mean, he does have ankle articulation, but not side-to-side rockers. Meaning that when you have his legs splayed to make him look natural at the waist, he's not actually standing flat on his feet. And that can kind of be a little bit of a gripe. Because if you could get him to stand flat on his feet, then you could open up his landing gear flap and give him rollerblades. And then he'd be a 110-foot tall rollerblading robot. Can you imagine that? That would have been awesome! Oh, but then I'm ranting about what could have been again. So, all these joints are nice and tight. He is not floppy at all, and I've been saying a lot of things about the legs, but actually, because of those huge pontoon feet, he can actually hold quite a few poses, even one-legged. Let's see. I feel like I can do this. This is where a waist joint would have been handy, because then I could move the kibble to one side and allow him a better one-footed stance. There we go. See? You can actually get a lot of really cool action-oriented poses out of this guy, and he will actually hold them on your display shelf. So, yeah, the articulation is great, the quality of the joints is great. The transformation is kind of panel-centric and clumsy, but that can be overlooked if you're just looking to display the thing. He may be hopelessly out of scale. Like, even if you were to take like the Cyberverse Legion class figures, which I think are the smallest realistic looking robots you can find nowadays, and put them next to him, they would still be technically too large. If he were a leader or supreme, then the Cyberverse figures would probably scale with him, but then he'd also cost twice as much, and I would not have bought him because it would have been out of my price range. But, you know, to compensate for the out of scale thing, they give you a little mini Optimus, so you could at least display him on his own and create the illusion of scale. I don't know if there's a Voyager-sized Devastator toy that you could have him set up to fight, because that would be cool. Oh well. So, would I recommend him? Kind of hard to say. If you want a guy to basically be a movie version of Omega Supreme, then I say go for it. But as a character who didn't actually exist in the movie and doesn't really scale, I can only mildly recommend him, because he is kind of cool, but you know, he's not for everybody. I like him, but you probably can afford to skip him. So this has been Toy Customizer Wakeangel 2001, signing off.